Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Senate election prediction videos, where I take a look at the Senate races going on across America in 2024 and give my thoughts, analysis, and predictions on the race. Today we are looking at the state of Delaware, America's first state, a seat currently held by the Democratic Party and Senator Tom Carper, who is retiring after serving 4 terms in the United States Senate. In 2018, Senator Carper's margin of victory was 22%. In 2020, the state of Delaware cast its presidential ballots for its favorite son, Joe Biden, and his margin of victory in his home state was 18%. It is no doubt how Delaware will cast its presidential ballots in 2024. They will cast them for Vice President Harris. Delaware is a reliably blue state at the presidential level, and nobody's really contesting Delaware. The Vice President Harris will win the state of Delaware with ease in 2024. Let's take a look at the 2 nominees. The Democratic nominee is current Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, and due to Delaware's small population, she represents the entire state. Miss Blunt Rochester has served in the House of Representatives since 2016. Since 2017. She was elected in 2016. Prior to that, she served on the staff of Senator Carper and held various governmental positions in state government. Miss Blunt Rochester was a very active part of President Joe Biden's successful 2020 presidential campaign. She gave the second speech for him at the Democratic National Convention in 2020 and served as a co-chair of his national campaign. She was a very prominent surrogate for him during his 2024 attempt at re-election and has been a vocal advocate of Kamala Harris since President Biden dropped out of the race. If elected to the Senate, Miss Blunt Rochester would be only the 4th African American woman to ever serve in that body. And there's a distinct possibility that come 2025 that you could have the most African American women ever serving in that body, as Maryland is poised to elect an African American female as well. And Miss Blunt Rochester won her primary unopposed. There was no one else that filed to run against her in the Democratic primary. The Republican candidate is Eric Hansen. Mr. Hansen is a businessman. Prior to entering this race, he worked for Wal-Mart and is pitching himself as a reasonable Republican. And considering some of the nominees that the Republican Party of Delaware has put forward lately, that is understandable. The nominee that they put forward against Senator Coons was a conspiracy theorist and a very eccentric personality when Senator Coons ran for re-election in 2020. So, that's an understandable position for him to take, pitching himself as a reasonable Republican, considering the beating the brand name in Delaware has taken lately. Miss Blunt Rochester has a significant financial advantage compared to Mr. Hansen. He's not been able to generate much campaign support, and in full disclosure, I did donate to Miss Blunt Rochester's campaign on the day she announced her intention to seek this open Senate seat. How do I think this race is going to pan out? I think Miss Blunt Rochester will be elected to the Senate. Delaware, as I said, is a reliably blue state. Miss Blunt Rochester has a significant financial advantage. Mr. Hansen is running in a state where the Republican Party has really, even though he's pitching himself as a reasonable Republican, has pitched itself into a very pitiful state, running conspiracy theorists and joke candidates in recent elections. So this will be a hold for the Democratic Party, and they will retain this Senate seat. Also, Mr. Hansen has to contend with the fact that Miss Blunt Rochester has in her corner the most powerful political ally you can have, the President of the United States, fully invested in assuring her election to the United States Senate. It's doubtful she'll need him to come campaign for her because of how reliably blue Delaware is, but if she needed him to come campaign for her, he would be there at the drop of a hat. So that's my prediction on this race. Miss Blunt Rochester will be elected to the United States Senate, and it's a hold for the Democratic Party.